This new generation is so soft, says the same people who were crying 50 years ago over having to share a water fountain with a black person.
Why does this kid have a phone? Why is he making like great points? And why is he talking into his phone from that direction? And how did he upload it?
And how does he know about this?
Because he has a phone.
Bro, I thought we dug this good enough, dude.
You thought we buried this?
Yeah, I thought we buried this a while ago, bro. I thought we covered this up, man.
He looks so disgusted. His face is like, oh,
this kid's just learning about a cranberry juice box. How is this kid learning about this?
This comment says, bro woke up and out of all languages, he chose to speak facts.
Just when I was losing hope in humanity, this guy is so intellectually capable of saying things of this nature. This kid is going places. He is going far.
You know what irks me the most about that post I made the other day about that child who was like, 50 years ago, y'all were crying about sharing a fountain with black people, which was very valid. It may have not been 50 years ago, but I've never seen a platform where a bunch of adults are trying to dissect a child who's obviously 10 to 13 years old, maybe younger, you feel me? And they're like, oh, well, 50 years ago, nobody was crying about a water fountain. Do the math. You guys are a bunch of adults dissecting a child, and this goes to show how uneducated and foolish some of you guys really are, because everybody understood exactly what that kid was saying. His whole point of where he was coming from was explaining the fact that years and years and years ago, racism was a thing. Years and years ago, people couldn't go to the same school together. But because that's not a thing anymore, it shows who still wants that to be a thing by the way you guys project and deflect. Obviously, a child's not going to have the timeline perfect because, again, this child's 8 to 13 years old. But for all of you saying, oh, it wasn't 50 years ago. No shit, Sherlock. Maybe an adult should be able to identify that. But the problem is you guys still can't. And the fact that the world is still not divided, it makes you guys so angry. And I feel like that is the problem. That's a deeper rooted issue. Your racism can't be public anymore. Sucks to suck, doesn't it?
This video, and I'll be right back.
One of the arguments you hear in opposition to talking to young children or to teaching elementary level school children about racism or the history of racism in America, the argument goes something along the lines of, well, you're going to make white kids feel bad about being white. What is your response to that?
Well, I would say those people are most concerned about our teaching of slavery. So let's just talk about slavery.
Sure.
If we teach white kids about slavery, we're going to teach them that there were white people who enslaved people and there were black people who were enslaved. And we're also going to teach them that there were white people and black people who challenged and fought against slavery. And so my question back to them would be, why can't we allow white children to identify with white abolitionists? And you know, and also it demonstrates to me that these folks recognize that kids are not colorblind and that how we shape the curriculum impacts our children. So then why aren't they concerned about how black kids feel when they're not represented in the curriculum?
Perfect response. This is how you shut it down. Why do you assume these children would not identify with the abolitionists? Why do you assume that these children would identify more with the racist slave owners? But what's always been crazy to me is that white children are so delicate that they can't learn about racism, but black children can continue to experience it from said children. So when the white child is being racist, you can't teach them that racism is wrong. But the black child that's being abused by said child being racist, they have to deal with it. Go home and cry. The parents have to talk to them. How does that make sense? White children that delicate? Anywho, perfect response. Remember, diversity equal power. We can change the world when we work together and protect black women. Until next time.
I know I don't understand your experience.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have never had to live it.
Come on now.
I can sympathize, and I can recognize when things are wrong. For instance, if a black man or woman should never be afraid for their life, for getting pulled over for speeding.
Come on now. Come on.
But I have never lived in that fear.
Come on now. Come on.
No black man or woman should ever be reluctant to walk outside for fear of racial profiling.
Tell it.
But I have never been racially profiled.
That's right.
Come on now. No black man or woman should ever expect to go to jail in their lifetime because of the color of their skin. Come on now. But I have never lived in that expectancy. And this is why I don't believe in the phrase, I don't see color. That's right. One, to say you don't see color is a lie. We're different. We can all see that. But two, and way more importantly, to deny the differences in our skin is to deny the differences in our privilege. I'm going to say that again because I think it's worth repeating. To deny the differences in our skin is to deny the differences in our privilege. And that leads me to my next point. To deny the differences in our color is to promote ignorance. Ignorance is the reason that systemic racism and oppression is allowed to exist in this country. That's good. So why am I here? Why am I up here speaking? Come on, tell them, sister. I'm going to talk on about 3 things. One of those is change, the other is ignorance, and one is discomfort. I'll get there. Go ahead. Take your time. Broadly speaking, why am I here? Because I want change. But let me speak on that for a second. Because I think a lot of people want change. I think a lot of people say they want change, but let me clarify. I think a lot of white people think they want change. But here's the thing about that. In order for there to be a true and genuine change, for you, for the black community, for people of color, there has to be an equal and requited amount of change for white privilege. And that is something that white people don't want to think about. They don't want to admit that. White people don't want to acknowledge the head start we have in life just for being born this color. You know what? That is willful ignorance. Willful ignorance is what allows oppression to continue in this country.
Together we stand. That's it.
So I'm going to talk on ignorance for a second. I think one of the biggest things that allows ignorance to continue is our education system.
There it is, baby.
Yes, ma'am. Our education system.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I mean by that is our education is a white man's education.
It is.
It is a white man's history.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell it.
Why does that matter? Again, like I said, I can recognize when something is wrong. And that is wrong. Why? Because when you tell that history, the history that excludes black history and black culture and the black experience, you allow white people to think that nothing is wrong. And when that happens, you allow white people to think, well, it was bad back then, but it's not bad now. Hell no. It's bad now. In fact, some might say it's worse because this is systemic oppression. This is institutional oppression. This is oppression that is not overt, but it is just as powerful, and we are able to hide it. And I have more to say. If you want to hear all of it, please come out Saturday.
We'll do that.
Thank you. We appreciate it. But just know the reason I'm here is because I stand by you. I support you. I love each and every one of you out here. We are brothers and sisters to the day we die. And this is not my time to have my voice heard, but I will use my voice for you. I promise.
Thank you.
Hello, my brothers and sisters. Hope you are fine wherever you are watching from. So, good people, it's good to tell the truth because it will always be truth from time to time. But when you tell lies, there is a time when you will need more lies to cover that lie that you said in the past. Now these whites covered what was done by them a very long time ago. Now the truth is out. They are there not knowing what to do. So people, let's watch this compilation until the end, and I'll be back with a little discussion. Remember, all credit goes to the original creators of these videos.
Everything that's been happening is due to racism. I'm tired of you dumb motherfuckers pretending that it wasn't. The redistricting is due to racism because black people vote Democrat in the South. Why do black people vote Democrat in the South? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Democrats gave them the vote, and then all of the white people became Republicans. Because white people in the South do not want to be in community with black people. So they went and switched to another fucking party. The destruction of education in this country is because white people in the South did not want their kids going to schools with black kids. So they have been trying to destroy the Department of Education so they can steal tax money and make white-only schools. Abortion. They don't want black women to have access to reproductive care so they can economically hold them the fuck down. Also, it was a backdoor way to trick Catholics and other people that aren't Southern fucking Baptists and evangelicals into coming into community with white Southerners over a wedge issue so they could take over the Supreme Court so the Supreme Court could say that racism is over and instantly we bring back all the racist fucking policies. It's been this way the entire fucking time. If you can't see that, you are fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
The history they want to erase, and this was in 1953. He was 7 years old. He was thirsty. He drank from the wrong fountain, and he spent 3 hours in jail. The amount of hatred these people have for us and still have for us have to be studied, because I don't understand this. I don't understand how this was the norm back in the day. This is absolutely disgusting. The more I dig into history, the more shocking it gets. Like, I mean, he's a boy. He's a little boy. He's thirsty. It's hot. He needed a cup of water. And he spent 3 hours in jail. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And by the way, did you also know that they were eating us? Yeah. They were killing us, eating us, cooking us. But like I said, they would never put that in the history books.
The reason why white people are still racist today is because of their experience with...
No, the fuck not. It is not because of the experience that they have with black people that some white people are racist. It is the fact that their parents taught them to be racist. And the fact that they have not done the due diligence to unlearn that racism. And I am speaking that from experience. I grew up in a very racist household. My grandmother was racist, my mother was racist. And I learned and said a lot of racist things, all of which I deeply fucking regret. But the reason I did those things and the reason I thought that doing those things was okay was because that's what I learned from my parents. I was in fact one of those people who were screaming about it's not hatred, it's heritage. I was one of those people who saw nothing wrong with still carrying around the Confederate flag. But guess what? After I got out into the real world and experienced the real world and got away from the people who were racist and who were feeding that mindset into my brain, I broke away from those mindsets. And after breaking away from that mindset and the people who were feeding that mindset into me and starting to experience and have conversations with real life black people other than, just a few interactions in high school, I started to unlearn all that bullshit that was brainwashed into my fucking brain. And just to put a scope as to how bad the brainwashing was, my mother, my birth giver, because she's no longer my mother, I don't associate with her, used to call people the N-word with the hard ER, not with an A, with the hard ER. And her justification for that was if they didn't want to be called that, they shouldn't act that way. And I thought that was okay. I now understand that that is a really fucked up thing to fucking say. But at the time, I thought it was okay because that was the person who raised me, the person who brainwashed me into thinking that way. So if you, as a white person, are still having these mindsets, it is your duty and responsibility to break away from these fucked up mindsets. It is not a black person's job to tiptoe around your fucking racism.
This new generation is so soft, says the same people who were crying 50 years ago over having to share a water fountain with a black person.
He rolled over into that thought. He definitely rolled over into that thought. And my question to everybody who's seen that is, how old is he? And he's smarter than the group. That's the crazy part. Of like, you can tell he's not. I wouldn't say he's a complete genius, but he's smarter than the group. And it's just crazy to think a child could see it, and grown-ups can't. But you're on the right track, my boy. You're on the right track. Don't let them take you off that high horse that you on, even though it's not a high horse. Tell me what y'all think about it in the comments, though. And it's just crazy he is that young with that much sense. Good parents. It's either good parents or they gave him enough freedom that he decided to learn things to do it the right way compared to how other people did it.
A white boy on TikTok told us of a young dude, maybe like a little bit older than Noga, between Noga and Jasmine. He was like, this generation weak. Y'all scared of everything. He said from a generation who 50 years ago was crying because they had to share a water fountain with a black person. Damn. Somebody was like, but he's not lying. No, he's like, we weak.
And not being wild. Yeah, not being wild. He been here already. That's how he know.
Nah,
yeah,
he felt that.
Yeah.
I know when old racist white people walk around today, they be like, these motherfuckers really free. You gotta think about it. Like, they didn't see this future. In their mind, things were going to stay the same. Like, it was never going to be, it was always going to be blacks over here, whites over here. Whites up here, blacks down here, color water fountain, white water fountain. And it was just going, it was always going to be like that. They didn't see the future, but now they gotta walk around and be like, these motherfuckers out here getting rich and thriving, and I'm seeing them on TV and they all over the radio. Like, what the fuck? They have to reminisce on the past. I know racist old white people reminisce on the past. Damn, baby, remember back in the day when the blackies would cross the railroad tracks and we'd throw rocks at them and call them fried chicken eating, watermelon sucking, Kool-Aid drinking baboons, and they would just go back on their side of town for months on end? Well, after what happened in Alabama, my hopes and dreams of that ever happening again was slim to none. Absolutely. They just gotta live through that shit. They just gotta sit through it. They just gotta take it. Just imagine how they felt when Obama became president. I wish I was a fly on the wall in the house of an old racist white couple when they said, Barack Obama is your president. Oh my God. They had, so many of them had to have heart attacks. Oh my God. Baby, come look at the TV. We gotta move. We got to get out of here. Look at this, Maribel. We got to get out of here. They just letting anybody be president. Oh, how they let the baboon get in there? They can't fucking read. Can't believe they let Chris Rock be president, baby. We got to fucking move.
Your generation threw a fit at the thought of black people drinking from the same drinking fountains as white people.
Ooh. Also, remember that time their parents blew up Tulsa, Oklahoma? Like, an American city. Why did they throw bombs at Tulsa, Oklahoma? You should look it up. Google that.
I want y'all to know, man, Cecil Williams, right? Y'all know this legendary picture right here.
That's right.
Of the brother drinking out of the whites only water fountain. I always wanted to ask you, Mr. Williams, was it a spontaneous act of rebellion or something you planned to do as a statement?
It was a little bit of both. I was thirsty, but also this it was the middle of the sunshine of the summer. You know, as evident by the T-shirt. But also this was not the first time I did this. There were many other times that I felt I wanted to
get a little close.
Really, I was not satisfied with living in the status quo and segregation. So this was something that I had done many times, and my mother warned me not to do it anymore. But I did it again, and this time it was photographed.
Did you feel fear in that moment, or was your faith stronger than your fear?
None whatsoever. This is about 15, 20 miles from Orangeburg and on Highway 21 and coming back from an assignment for Jet magazine. But I never sent this picture to Jet. It was something that I held in the family, and I knew I would get chewed out had I, given it to my mother and father to see. So I hid it from them and never sent it to Jet either.
Wow. How'd they get it?
Maybe 3 or 4 years later, I showed it to them in a conversation one Sunday afternoon during a dinner. it kind of came out, and then I got chewed out. Wow.
Like they said in the comments, the kids are all right. There's hope in Gen Alpha. I don't know who his parents are, but they raised a smart kid. Keep up the good work, y'all. I really thought he was going to say more in this video. I thought he was going to eat these suckers down. I thought he was going to go in on them. I mean, he already went in on them with that one line talking about how, oh, this generation is so soft. Really? When y'all, aren't y'all the same people who were complaining 50 years ago about having to share a water fountain with black people? Weren't you the same people complain about having to sit in the same area as black people? Weren't you the same people complaining about DEI? This is why we need to continue on teaching black history in the schools and every person of color history in the schools, so we can learn from the mistakes of the past, and so that the next generation can be better and brighter and smarter than the previous generation before. Someone was like, this little boy is invited to all the cookouts. Let him know, please. He's invited to all the cookouts for life. Yes, he is, indeed.
I had a pretty unique exposure to racism when I was a kid. My siblings and I were adopted. My sister is white, my parents are white, my brother is black. Our community was white, our schools were white, everyone was white. Growing up, my brother was bullied incessantly by people of all ages, even family members. Since I was 2 years older, I felt like it was my responsibility to defend him. To do that, I developed a spidey sense for identifying racists. The way I saw it, there were 4 kinds of people when it came to racism. There were the openly racist and not afraid to show it people. There were the covertly racist but careful to hide it people. There were the not racist but unwilling to call it out people. And there were the not racist and willing to do something about it people. Of course, that last group was few and far between. As a kid, it was clear to me that 3 of the 4 groups were complicit in harming my brother. An overt racist would say something racist to my brother. The covert racist wouldn't flinch. The not racist but not willing to call it out person would act like they didn't see it, and my brother would get the message that he either deserved whatever was said or he wasn't worth defending. It didn't matter that some of the people weren't racist, because enough of them were. Enough of them were so the group didn't have to change a damn thing. And that's what I keep thinking about with this ruling on the Voting Rights Act. Our nation has made very little progress at making this world safe for people like my brother. We've made very little progress at changing the messages that people like my brother absorb. The way the world expects the worst from him every single second of every day. We still very much have a group that's unwilling to change. I've been thinking about this because it feels like something changed with the last ruling. The slide from covert to overt seems much more obvious. The racist underpinnings of this decision are not plausibly deniable. The fact that Alito cited bad data to support his position, knowing full well he would be fact-checked, is very telling. And let's not pretend the conservative justices didn't know Republican lawmakers in the South were going to take the ball and run on this. Maybe they didn't realize just how quickly the greasy, grimy, greedy lawmakers would shove their racist flags into the soil of every single voting district. Except something tells me the kinds of people who accept bribes from fat cats with matters before the court, the kinds of people who announce their homophobic and Christian nationalist tendencies by literally flying symbolic flags at their home, the kinds of people who only adopted a formal ethics code after years of pressure and made sure it has little enforcement power. Those kinds of people probably knew exactly what would happen with this ruling. And it's quite clear that they don't care that because of this ruling, people like my brother will find themselves in rooms even more populated with people complicit in racism, and the people willing to do something about it will be even fewer and farther between. Yeah. Well, SCOTUS, I hope you're having the day you deserve.
You heard what that baby said. He said that with his whole chest. And I believe that he is a part of the group that Whitney was talking about, the children of our future. We have stumbled upon them. Because I've been searching high, and I've been searching low, and I have not been getting any results. But that baby said what he said. TT, we got you. Don't worry. You said what you said.
This new generation is so soft, says the same people who were crying 50 years ago over having to share a water fountain with a black person.
Jim Crow began being dismantled in 1954 and it was totally dismantled by 1968. A lot of people that were around during that time are still alive. The children during that time are between the ages of 50 and 80 today. And just because they were children when this was happening, and they may or may not remember it, didn't mean that they weren't taught these ways, because who raised them? The very people that lived through segregation raised them. That's why we see a lot of people being openly racist, especially the boomers, because this is what they grew up with. So yes, young one, you said that the same people complaining that this younger generation is soft are the same people that were complaining about drinking from the same water fountain as somebody with a different color as them. And here we are today, still seeing them cry because they're not the superior race, as they tried to continue to be the superior race. Not all of them, but most of them. And let's also not forget the people of color that ass kiss, because they think that the more they kiss ass, the whiter their skin color becomes. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below.
You know, I'll never forget the day a white buddy of mine said black people don't deserve equality because they could never get enough. And that's true. White people are actually scared of equality. That's just how racist we are as a people. And it's not just that one person. White culture in general. Probably I would say most white people, when they hear the word equality, they fear that white people will be oppressed because brown, black, and indigenous people might actually get what's fair and just. That's just how racist we are. And we're so obsessed with the idea of not having equality in America for black, brown, and indigenous people that we don't have health care, that we don't have economic equality. We don't have reasonable gun laws. Our liberties are being stripped because we have a fascist, racist, white supremacist regime in office because we are so scared of equality. We're so scared that black and brown folks might become the majority one day. That we had a black president, and now we've got to have a white supremacist president. That's how scared we are of equality. That's how racist we are as a people. Go to the fucking root. The root of America's problems. The root of the white man and the white woman, their problems, and America and the world. If you think about it, colonialization, white supremacy, the mentality of white people today, not just yesterday, today, right now, the denial racially, the silence, the apathy, the continuous gaslighting, all that fucking shit, that's ruined us. It's ruined white people, and it's ruining our nation. And whose fault is it? White people's fault. Their inability to fucking fix their goddamn problem. Until we fix white supremacy, everything we try will fail. It's dysfunctional and it's toxic, and Trump and this regime is the perfect proof of all that shit. How we got in this fucking mess? White people's bullshit. White people's racist fucking bullshit. Period.
My name is Daniel Mattingly, and apparently this school doesn't know better than to give an angry gay kid a microphone. No shade at all, but I came to the graduation planning to give a speech about my trauma influencing me as a person. And black, brown, and mixed youth are facing oppression nowadays and being forced to fear their own identities. I had a speech ready to cheer on and encourage oppressed youth, which makes up the entirety of the school. I was told by Mr. Dawson and Miss Imes that there's a time and a place. My speech is too negative, it's too controversial. This school is built on racism, sexism, and homophobia. I encourage everyone here today to stand up for yourself, even if it makes a scene. This school is fucking ridiculous.
Black people are not treated fairly as white people. It's not fair. Are we white people? Yes, you.
The relief on that young man's face when he found out that he was a white person, incredible. And I don't know about you, but when he said, phew, I felt that so much. And it's such an incredible thing to witness how easy it is to acknowledge your privilege with a simple phew. That child will put an end to racism. And he is now my white ally.
I know this pain firsthand. I grew up around the system. I've seen its cracks, I've seen its blind spots, and I've seen its devastating consequences. And today, my own siblings remain caught in the very system that once failed me. Mr. Speaker, the scars of a broken childhood never fade. Children in our care do not need sympathy, they need action. The damage is already done, but we still have time. Time to rewrite the future for every child who still hopes for safety, for love, and for a home.
If you seriously believe the 13% of the population and 50% of the crime, you need to get fact-checked, and I'm about to do it to you. In 2016, white people committed 70% of the convicted crime, and black people only committed 27%. Then in 2017, white people committed 68% of the reported crime, and black people only committed 26% of it. And in 2024, white people committed 53% of the reported crime, while black people only committed 25%. So this narrative on 13% of the population, 50% of the crime is wrong. You know who actually commits 50% of the crime? White people. But guess what stat black people are 13% of the population and 50% in? Exonerations. You know, when they're wrongly convicted. All you're doing by spreading this fake fact is allowing more people to profile and be racist towards black people. You know what's the highest percentage of people who are victims of white people? Black people. And if you look at all the shootings, guess who are the shooters? White dudes. So let's all think long and hard on who actually commits 50% of the crime.
Dear women, I'm sorry. Dear black people, I'm sorry. Dear Asian Americans, dear Native Americans, dear immigrants who come here seeking a better life, I'm sorry. Dear everyone who isn't a middle or upper class white boy, I'm sorry. I have started life at the top of a ladder while you were born on the first rung. I say now that I would change places with you in an instant, but if given the opportunity, would I? Probably not, because to be honest, being privileged is awesome. I'm not saying that you and me on different rungs of the ladder is how I want it to stay. I'm not saying that any part of me has for a moment even liked it that way. I'm just saying that I fucking love being privileged and I'm not ready to give that away. I love it because I can say fucking and not one of you is attributing that to the fact that everyone with my skin color has a dirty mouth. I love it because I don't have to spend an hour every morning putting on makeup to meet other people's standards. I love it because I can worry about what kind of food is on my plate instead of whether or not there will be food on my plate. I love it because when I see a police officer, I see someone who's on my side. To be honest, I'm scared of what it would be like if I wasn't on the top rung, if the tables were turned and I didn't have my white boy privilege safety blankie to protect me. If I lived a life lit by what I lack, not what I have. If I lived a life in which when I failed, the world would say, told you so. If I lived the life that you live. When I was born, I had a success story already written for me. You were given a pen and no paper. I've always felt that that's unfair, but I've never dared to speak up because I've been too scared. Well, now I realize that there's enough blankie to be shared. Everyone should have the privileges I have. In fact, they should be rights instead. Everyone's story should be written, so all they have to do is get it read. Enough said. No, not enough said. It is embarrassing that we still live in a world in which we judge another person's character by the size of their paycheck, the color of their skin, or the type of chromosomes they have. It is embarrassing that we tell our kids that it is not their personality, but instead those same chromosomes that get to dictate what color clothes they wear and how short they must cut their hair. But most of all, it is embarrassing that we deny this, that we claim to live in an equal country in an equal world. We say that women can vote. Well, guess what? They can run a country, own a company, and throw a nasty curveball as well. We just don't give them the chance to. I know it wasn't us 8th grade white boys who created this system, but we profit from it every day. We don't notice these privileges, though, because they don't come in the form of things we gain, but rather the lack of injustices that we endure. Because of my gender, I can watch any sport on TV and feel like that could be me one day. Because of my race, I can eat at a fancy restaurant without the waitstaff expecting me to steal the silverware. Thanks to my parents' salary, I go to a school that brings my dreams closer instead of pushing them away. Dear white boys, I'm not sorry. I don't care if you think the feminists are taking over the world or the Black Lives Matter movement has gotten a little too strong, because that's bullshit. I get that change can be scary, but equality shouldn't be. Hey white boys, it's time to act like a woman, to be strong and make a difference. It's time to let go of that fear. It's time to take that ladder and turn it into a bridge.
You can't understand how powerfully racist that question is, can you? Because you could never ask a white author, when are you going to write about black people?
Do you think that there is still and will forever be a black-white divide?
No. It's only kept alive because it's useful. When it stops being useful, they'll get rid of it.
Useful to whom?
To white people. They need it.
Well, that is attributing a kind of a willful intent.
Of course it's willful. It's irrational. Everybody knows it doesn't make any sense. But they hang on to this totally unscientific, mythological, metaphorical notion of division that is wasteful. It costs a lot. It diminishes the people who feel that way. And it hurts the people who don't feel that way. When they don't need it, as in wartime, they get rid of it. When they don't need it economically, they get rid of it. But if you need it in order to solve some political problem, or to justify a land grab, or you need workers who are dependent upon you, and you can convince them that, you know, $2 an hour, $5 an hour is enough, then you use it. It has powerful utilitarian purposes.
But you are saying then that whites have a willful, malicious intent as far as... I think this is a naive question.
It's a naive question.
So it's there. I mean, this malice is there. That's why I ask you, do you think it's eradicable?
Well, it'll take some generations. But let me tell you, you cannot enslave people or kill races of people, whole races in a continent. You cannot do that as a human being unless you have persuaded yourself that it is, that A, they are not people, or their lives are not worthy, or that you have a mission to do that. No human being can do that. You cannot do it unless you believe it is better for those people to be dead. If you can get in an airplane in Brazil and fly around and shoot Indians for sport now, you have to persuade yourself that they are sport. Now, I don't know if that's malice or psychosis, but it exists. And the people who do it know it. They know that they are living a lie.
Do you think that there is something inherent in us, in whites, that undervalues someone whose skin is not the same color as ours?
It's not inherent at all. It's taught. And it's taught by theologians. It's been taught by scientists. Racism is a scholarly affair. It is totally ingrained in the education that we receive. The history. Encyclopedias are full of outrageous claims about whiteness and about blackness. You can feel better, no matter what your pitiful little life is like, no matter how many times you lose, no matter how poor your existence. If you encounter a black person, you can feel better.
You have in your writing certainly marginalized whites. Why are they of no particular interest to you, or seemingly no particular interest?
Well, I was interested in another kind of literature that was not just confrontational, black versus white. I was really interested in black readership. And I wanted to do, I think, for me, the allegory or the parallel is black music, which is as splendid and complicated and wonderful as it is because its audience was within. its primary audience. The fact that it has become universal, worldwide, anyone, everyone can play it, and it has evolved, is because it wasn't tampered with and editorialized within the community. So I wanted the literature that I wrote to be that way. I could just go straight to where the soil was, where the fertility was in this landscape. And also, I wanted to feel free not to have the white gaze in this place that was so precious to me, which is the work.
And you will maintain this safe place for yourself, for your art? You don't think you will ever change and write books that incorporate white lives into them substantially?
I have done.
In a substantial way?
You can't understand how powerfully racist that question is, can you? Because you could never ask a white author, when are you going to write about black people? Whether he did or not, or she did or not. Even the inquiry comes from a position of being in the center.
And being used to being in the center.
And being used to being in the center. And saying, you know, is it ever possible that you will enter the mainstream? It's inconceivable that where I already am is the mainstream.
Oh no, that wasn't the implication of my question. I think you are very, very much in the mainstream. It's a question of the subject of your narrative, whether you want to alter the parameters of it, whether you see any benefit in doing that, or will you clearly see disadvantages in doing it from your own point of view?
Artistic disadvantages. There are no pluses for me. Being an African-American writer is sort of like being a Russian writer who writes about Russia, in Russian, for Russians. And the fact that it gets translated and read by other people is a benefit. It's a plus. But he's not obliged to ever consider writing about French people or Americans or anybody.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for watching these videos until this point. I appreciate your support. So, good people, as you have seen, these kids talk. I know you have realized something. The world is changing. The times we are living in cannot be compared to those days of slavery. In those days, one could tell lies and get away with it. Nobody could realize the truth. It was dark days. No information could reach the public without the permission of the authorities. They chose which information should be aired. One couldn't know what was happening in the neighborhoods. But right now, the whole world seems like a small village where something that is happening around the globe is seen by everyone who needs that information. Thanks to social media, even when you want to know everything about history, you can find it just by a press of a button. So now these white kids are here, living in the modern world where they have done research. They have gone everywhere on the internet and are now well informed about the current and the past. In the past, people relied on this white education, where only good things that were done by these people are the ones that was taught. That was a white man's education. They just chose what to write and what not to write, what to say and what not to say. Little did they know that a time will come when everything that was done in the past will be revealed just by a press of a button. Now we are here. These kids were taught that the so-called education in schools, that's selective history. And at home, we saw in our past video how they were taught to hate black people, to be racist, but they have researched all these things by themselves and are now informed. They know the past very well, from injustices, racism, mistreatment, everything that was done, like slavery. They know it very well. So there is no way these kids can be lied to. Everything was hidden from them. They now have them in their minds and hearts, and now they feel like they have been lied to with the very people they trusted more. They were taught to hate other races, but after doing that research, they now hate themselves and their parents. When you hear the words that are coming from these kids' mouth, you can realize that it's not business as usual. There is something that is going to happen. The kids are not buying the information that they are being taught by their parents or teachers. Now these kids are out here talking about how they have been cheated on by their own parents and how education that is taught is somehow partial. They were not taught about the atrocities that happened. All they taught these kids was how they made people's life great, how they went to Africa and all over the world and made those continents great. They never told their kids how they mistreated black people, how they went to Africa and took people from there by force to come to their nations and countries to work for them and build their nation for free. How they whipped and even went ahead and killed these people. How they took resources from Africa and other minerals for free. They came, displaced the natives, took minerals and slaves to the US without any cost. And after all this, those who came out to speak against were killed and nothing was done to these people. Now the kids are here. They have this information with them. They see their parents and great parents are as cruel for carrying out this heinous act against fellow humans. Others see this and even hate themselves to be associated with this race. You heard that young one asking the brother if they are white, but he didn't like it when he was told that they are white. So my brothers and sisters, what I can tell these people is to tell this kid the truth. You did wrong by mistreating these Africans, and you went ahead to tell or teach wrong information about that. Please, it's time to repent. Just come out and tell the truth. Pay these people reparations. These generations will not be lied to anymore. So I appreciate your time. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel. Also share and like. I like when you come on the comment section. Continue doing so. See you on my next episode.